Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Tadvidhi pranipatena.
Tadvidhi pranipatena.
Pariprashnena sevaya.
Pranipasnena sevaya.
Upadekshanti te jnanam.
Upadakshanti te jnanam.
Jnaninas tattvadarshanah.
Jnanena tattvadarshina.
Tadvidhi pranipatena.
Tadvidhi pranipatena.
Pariprashnena sevaya.
Pranipasnena sevaya.
Upadekshanti te jnanam.
Upadakshanti te jnanam.
Jnaninas tattvadarshanah.
Jnanena tattvadarshina.
Tadvidhi pranipatena.
Tadvidhi pranipatena.
Pariprashnena sevaya.
Pranipasnena sevaya.
Upadekshanti te jnanam.
Upadakshanti te jnanam.
Jnaninas tattvadarshanah.
Tattvadarshinaha.
Please chant.
Tadvidhi pranipatena.
Tadvidhi pranipatena.
Pranipasnena sevaya.
Pariprasnena sevaya.
Upadaksyanti te jnanam.
Upadakshanti te jnanam.
Jnanena tattvadarshinaha.
Jnanena tattvadarshinaha. Tadvidhi pranipatena.
Tadvidhi pranipatena.
Tadvidhi pranipatena.
Tadvidhi pranipatena. Pranipascha.
Pranipasnena sevaya.
Pranipascha sevaya.
Upadakshanti te jnanam.
Upadaksyanti te jnanam.
Jnanena tattvadarshinaha.
Jnanena tattvadarshinaha.
Good thing he memorized that earlier in his early life.
Forgot the second one.
All right. Okay. So, any other one would like to chant? All right. Tat, that knowledge of different sacrifices.
Knowledge of different sacrifices.
Vidhi,
Vidhi,
try to understand.
try to understand.
Pranipatena,
Pranipatena.
by approaching a spiritual master.
By approaching a spiritual master.
Pariprashnena,
Paripaschena.
by submissive inquiries.
By submissive inquiries.
Sevaya,
Sevaya.
by the rendering of service.
By the rendering of service.
Upadekshanti,
Upadakshanti.
they will initiate.
They'll initiate.
Te,
Te. You.
Jnanam,
Jnanam.
into knowledge. Jnaninaha,
Naninaha.
the self-realized.
The self-realized.
Sattva,
Tattva.
of the truth.
Of the truth.
Darshanaha,
Darshanaha.
seers. Translation. Commentary by Swankai Sesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Purport. The path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of the foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam 6.3.19 says, Dharmam tu shakshat bhagavat pranitam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help lead one to the right path. Nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender And one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master, and when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. Not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind toward the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries become perfect. Om Gyanati Padandasya Kananjana Shavakya Chakshavanavitammena Tasmai Shri Gurave Maha Makam Kalidavachalam Tangam Nagayate Gnem Yakripatamam Vande Shri Gurande Karanam Bancha Papadi Prishta Kripa Sanibeva Chapatitanam Bhavaniga Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama So Srila Prabhupada, the founder and Acharya of the Hare Krishna movement, he started the Hare Krishna movement in New York City, and then it went to San Francisco, then all over the world. And his strategy was that after he came to America, he wanted to bring some of his American and European disciples back to India to inspire those in India to surrender to Krishna, to take to Krishna consciousness. So that was his idea. Because sometimes people from other countries, whether it's India or this country or that country or so many different countries, they may look at America specifically and want to try to imitate America. Means they think that the Americans have something going on. And they want to imitate them and try to be like them in terms of coming to their standard of material opulence or material enjoyment, satisfaction, right? Like if somebody's in for example, if someone's in Los Angeles and they're living in a particular part of town that is maybe difficult or poverty-stricken in different ways, they may want to move to a little higher class town, like Beverly Hills, or of course what is real higher class? Is Beverly Hills really higher class? They call it Hollyweird, right? But people want to move to higher states according to their conceptions. So that's the general, you could say, material mindset. So anyway, Srila Prabhupada wanted to bring his American and European disciples back to India and show the Indians that these young boys and girls, they're giving up everything and they're surrendering to Krishna. They're chanting Hare Krishna and they're living a very happy life, following your culture. So in other words, you should too. So he did that. And Srila Prabhupada, he would hold these huge, humongous pandal programs, big tents. And they'd invite people. Thousands of people would come to hear Srila Prabhupada speak on the Bhagavad Gita every night, thousands. And they would do this in big cities like Mumbai, Bombay. So once they had one of these pandal programs where Srila Prabhupada was speaking, thousands of people were there, and one young man, American man, it's described he was dressed in like a leather jacket, like a biker's, biker's jacket, he had chains, and maybe from some people's perspective, a rough-looking guy. So, anyways, he raised his hand, and he wanted to ask Prabhupada a question. And Srila Prabhupada said yes. He actually brought him up on stage in front of thousands of people. He said, yes, give him an asana, let him sit here. So the man sat there, and he said, give him a microphone. He gave him a microphone. And then Prabhupada said, ask your question. And the man said, how old is Bhagavad Gita? And then, well, first of all, actually, he asked Srila Prabhupada, have you realized yourself within yourself? And Prabhupada said, yes. And then the young man asked, so how old is the Bhagavad Gita? And then Srila Prabhupada said, 5,000 years old. And the man said, oh, well, who I follow, who I talk to, my authorities, they say 2,000 years old. That's what the young man said. And then Prabhupada said, that's nonsense. He said, it's 5,000 years old. And then they started actually, Srila Prabhupada asked him, what is the process to understand the Bhagavad Gita? And then a bit of a quarrel started between Srila Prabhupada and this young man. And then what happened is the devotees, they started getting worried, so they escorted him off the stage. And what happened is the whole audience became polarized. Some people were thinking that Srila Prabhupada was wrong because he wasn't answering the young man's questions and he was being fiery with them. And some people were thinking that the young man was wrong. So it polarized. So, but then Srila Prabhupada, he began to explain what is the process of Bhagavad Gita. But before that, the organizers of the Pandal, they're in the backstage and they were talking with one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, Malati, Malati Devi. So one of the organizers said that your guru, he ruined this program because people were mad and they were leaving. Not everybody, but some people. And he said, your guru ruined this program. And then Malati said, with transcendental anger, she said, my guru didn't ruin anything. And she slapped the guy on the cheek. Anyways. But all the devotees who were distributing books in the audience, they all retreated. They came to the back of the stage and they came to the front because, people were upset. Some of them left and some of them stayed. So anyway, Srila Prabhupada, he continued to speak. And he answered his question, what is the process of understanding the Bhagavad Gita? And he started to, he quoted this verse, Tadvidhi Pranipatena, that the process of learning the truth is to approach a guru, a spiritual master, a teacher, and to inquire from him submissively and render service. And the self-realized souls can impart knowledge because they've seen the truth. So, Srila Prabhupada was demonstrating here what doesn't work. The man was very arrogant. He was proud. And that doesn't, that's not the process for understanding the Bhagavad Gita. One has to be humble, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advises. Tranada peace, Nuchena, Tor peace, Ishana, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sada Harihi. So, as humble as a blade of grass, we're supposed to be as tolerant as a tree, to think all praise belongs to others and none belong to me. These are the necessary qualities to chant the holy name constantly. And not only are they important for chanting, but they're important for learning anything. Yeah, they're important for learning anything. And those of us who have made certain steps in Krishna consciousness, it's not that, hey, well, I was humble in the beginning, but I don't have to be humble anymore. Actually, people have to be humble towards me. But we always have to be humble. In the beginning, in the middle, but we always have to be humble. There's not a point where we become so detached or renounced that we renounce humility as well, or devotional service. It's like I became such an advanced devotee, I renounced devotional service. So we always have to be humble, and that's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction and challenge. So yeah, it's important to, while learning and also while teaching, to be humble. And this is actually a sign that one is in knowledge. This is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. A sign that one is in knowledge is not necessary. Yeah, it's not that they've got a PhD or they know how to stack bricks or make skyscraper buildings, or they know how to push buttons on a computer and make things happen, or blow things up, right? Touching their fingers on keyboard or whatever. But the sign of knowledge, one sign of knowledge, is humility. And this is natural for the soul. The soul by nature is actually humble, because the soul by nature is a servant of Krishna. Krishnara, Jivara Srupoi Krishnara Nitida. So the soul is the eternal servant of Krishna. So when we become when our consciousness becomes contaminated or polluted, then this pride arises, and we don't think there's a need to be humble, and nor are we. So the more we become purified by the chanting of Hare Krishna, by the engagement in devotional service, and the more we read Bhagavad Gita and so on, the more we can develop this humility, and the more we have a chance to learn. I could probably be, I don't know, maybe some of your sons, definitely. Maybe some of your grandsons. Means I could be your grandson. Maybe some of you out there. But even though that is the case, we could learn from everybody. It doesn't matter if they're 80 years old or 8 years old. Prahlad Maharaj was 5 years old. Shukadeva Goswami was 16 years old. So we should always feel that we could learn from anybody. That's a healthy mindset. And some people, they think, oh, I don't need a guru, right? They think, oh, I don't need a guru, I'll just figure it out myself. But we need a guru even for the simplest things. Like I saw Prema, Priya, Radhika working in the kitchen today. Solo was helping. But she was cutting the mango, and she was cutting it very expertly. She's probably cut many mangoes in her life. But even to such a simple thing as cutting a mango, people, oh, it's so simple. I might have told this when I was here last time, but Prabhupada was with some disciples, and he asked his disciple, cut this mango, and we'll distribute it. We're going to distribute it to some guests here. So the disciples started to cut it, and it was just, he was doing a bad job. There was juice. He was messing it up. So then Prabhupada, then this one lady was there, and she said, oh, I can help you. Let me do it. And Prabhupada said, yes, let her do it. So then she, very easily, because she's cut many mangoes in her life, she knows what she's doing, so, or she was taught. And anybody who knows how to cut a mango without making a mess, there's a certain way, right? You stand it up and cut this side, and then you have your mango, and then you cut like this, and then open it, and then little pieces are there. It's easy. So that's what she did. And then Srila Prabhupada commented, he said, just see, he said, even to cut a mango, one needs a guru, one needs a teacher, just to cut a mango. Right? So we need a teacher to play harmonium, learn how to play harmonium nicely. We need a mridanga, we need a teacher to teach us how to make ghee wicks. Right? We need a teacher for everything. How to put on a sari. Of course, men don't have that problem. Dhotis, yeah. It's a process to put on a dhoti. I mean, you need to be taught. So why not for spiritual life? Why do we not need a guru for spiritual life? We do. And that's what Krishna is advising in the Bhagavad Gita, to approach teachers, spiritual masters, gurus, and to inquire and serve submissively, render service. And they will impart knowledge, especially to those who are receptive. Like Srila Prabhupada said that he was willing to sit under a tree if he had one sincere person and just teach continuously. So if we want to make advancement, if we want knowledge of Krishna, of Krishna consciousness, it's fully available. Like, when I say fully, it's like completely available, it's completely open. But we just have to be receptive. And the more we're receptive, the more effect it will have on us. And the more we will see every situation that we encounter, and every person that we encounter, as manifestations of our guru, of our teacher, teaching us. Okay? So, all right, does anybody have any comments or questions? Okay.
So you really have to have a guru to advance in the spiritual life.
Yes.
You have to.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, we can advance by chanting Hare Krishna and reading books and Srila Prabhupada Hare Krishna books, and we can advance, but if we have a teacher, if we have a guru, then specifically that's the process to accept a spiritual master, to accept a teacher. So for those of us who have, we should, it's like revow, it's like, what do you call, you know, when you're married and you have your anniversary and you, what do you call that?
Renew the vow?
Yeah, renewing vows. So every day, even though we may have a spiritual master, teacher, but every day we have to remind ourselves, hey, I have a spiritual teacher and I need to follow him. But those of us who have accepted, we have to accept every day. It means there's instructions that need to be followed every day. It's not that we accept it at one point and then it's like, okay, I'm a disciple. But we have to accept every day, you know, the instructions. And the more we accept, the more, you know, fortunate we become. And if we haven't accepted a guru, we should seriously consider it. Yeah, we should seriously consider it. And anybody could accept a guru. I was born in California, and I didn't come from any special background. But I accepted a guru, so in disciplic succession. right? There's Krishna, Brahma, Narada, Vyas. There's a whole disciplic succession of gurus, and then Srila Prabhupada, and then some of his disciples are acting as gurus or are gurus. And then there's, of course, the Shiva Sampradaya, Lakshmi Sampradaya, different Sampradayas. So to accept initiation, one of those Sampradayas, then you could say we formally get the gift of the holy name of Krishna. Because if you really think about it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose appearance day is coming up, we're very happy about that, in about a little more than a week, but Thursday. Big celebration here, and all over America and all over the world. But he gave the holy name of Krishna to his followers, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, who were absolutely just inconceivably amazing devotees and personalities. And then the 6 Goswamis gave the holy name to their followers, and on and on and on, and they keep on giving to their followers, and it comes down the line to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who gave the holy name formally to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada gave it to his disciples. And his disciples are giving it to their disciples. So it's quite a mystical, it's like a mango being passed down, right? Being passed down a tree till it reaches. But this holy name of Krishna, it's a special mango. It's very sweet, and like in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, it says that they're all chanting and dancing, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he threw a mango seed down on the ground, and then immediately, of course he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, coming in the role of a devotee, but immediately a mango tree sprouted. And then from that mango tree, of course mangoes were coming, but it said they're huge mangoes. It said one mango would satisfy, I don't know what it said, 10 men or something like that. But it was, all you need is one mango. I think it didn't have skin and it didn't have a seed either, but amazing. And the devotees, they would chant and dance and kirtan, and then they would feast on these mangoes. So the holy name of Krishna is like that, very sweet. But it becomes we're able to access it by accepting a spiritual master. So, yeah. Yes, sir.
One of my favorite quotes from Ramana Maharshi is God, Guru, and Self are one. I'm fortunate, like my main practice is Guru Kripa, right, grace of the Guru. And so yeah, for me, and my spiritual practice is very much like what you're talking about. The disciple succession and everything being passed down to you, so yeah.
Yeah, about Guru Kripa, Guru's mercy. So that's necessary, definitely. We need the mercy of the Guru and the mercy of the devotees. But there's two things that happen. There's actually two elements. One is our endeavor, and the other one is the spiritual master's mercy. Like Srila Prabhupada, one time, he went to a place to stay the night, and there was a cross there with Lord Jesus Christ crucified, nailed to the cross. And Srila Prabhupada didn't like that, actually. So he said to the devotees, means Jesus Christ he accepted as guru, as teacher, as coming from God, but why he didn't like the crucifixion, I'll tell you right now, but he told the disciples to take it down. And he said, this isn't good. He said, the so-called followers of Jesus Christ, means it's not speaking on all of them, but a lot of them, the so-called followers of Jesus Christ, they say, oh, our Guru, Jesus, he died for our sins. He saved us. Now we can do whatever we want. So that's not good. Means that, okay, he came and he's saving people, but people have to follow him. And so that's an important element to follow also, the Guru. Because we could say, oh, I love you, Guru, right? But we also have to follow. Or just like that, the examples of somebody's fallen into a well. So like material existence or material consciousness is compared to like falling in a dark, deep well. Right? And then we're stuck down there. And then, help, help. So then somebody throws us a rope down. And we're there, we're still stuck, and we call up to the person, oh, thank you for throwing the rope down. Now, can you make my hand, curl and grab the rope? Then you can pull me up. But the thing is, it's not the business of the person up there to mystically help us, grab the rope. He threw the rope down. We have to grab the rope, and then he'll pull us up. So the same principle with the Guru, that the Guru is throwing the rope down, but we have to also put in some endeavor. Grab the rope and he'll pull us up. So, but yeah, Guru Kripa is important. But yeah, the Vaishnava understanding is that there's three principles. We're the soul, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, right? And we're all individual souls. And then there's Krishna, the Supreme Soul. And then there's the process of bhakti, or loving devotion. So the soul is meant to connect with the Supreme Soul through love and devotion. Now, if the soul and the Supreme Soul are one absolutely, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says they're one and different. Inconceivably one and different. But if they were just one, absolutely, then there's no question of bhakti, no question of devotion. Everybody's just, merged into oneness, which is very common these days, common around the world, this idea. But yeah, the Vaishnava philosophy is that we want to be separated from Krishna in the sense that if there's separation, then we could serve. We could put a garland on Krishna, right? We could put a garland on the deity of Krishna or on the devotees. But if we're all one,
We're all Krishna.
yeah, so it doesn't work. Okay. Any last? Yes?
I just wanted to say, there's this pastime of Prabhupada where so many disciples, they were driving somewhere for a while, but Prabhupada took a bite of something, he bit like a bread. And he gave it to the disciples and try this. And like early on, he bit it, and then he gave it back to Prabhupada. I just wanted to say, that goes to show that we don't know anything, we don't know much. And
Yeah.
he bit it, give it back to him.
Yeah, what he's referring to is that Prabhupada had, in the early days, a disciple, Mukunda,
Yeah.
who became Mukunda Goswami, he's still around. So, anyway, Srila Prabhupada went somewhere with Mukunda, young Mukunda, and then they were driving back together to the San Francisco temple. And then the people Srila Prabhupada saw, I think it was like the Prime Minister of India or someone. So they gave, the wife gave Srila Prabhupada a paper bag. And Prabhupada didn't know what it was. So then they were driving back to the San Francisco temple, and Prabhupada opened the paper bag. And he said, oh wow, great, bejeweled date. It was a date, but it was really big. Mukunda Goswami describes. So anyways, Prabhupada was in the car, and then Srila Prabhupada took a bite of the date. And he was relishing the date, and then Mukunda was driving. And then Srila Prabhupada, then Srila Prabhupada said, oh, this is very good. And he handed it to Mukunda, prasadam, maha prasadam, special remnants of the spiritual master, right? It's explained in the Bhagavatam. The Guru's remnants have special spiritual potency. So Mukunda, he said at first, his mind was, because he was new. So he said at first he was grossed out actually. It's kind of, why is he offering me something he just bit? But then he said, okay, well, I have to accept it. So then he accepted it from Prabhupada. And then he started to eat the date. He said, oh, wow, this is very good. So he was, chewing on the date and then driving, and Prabhupada was sitting in the passenger seat, driving. And then Mukunda, he handed it back to Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada kind of looked at him, he said, no, that's all right. He said, you keep it. And then Mukunda, he was driving, and he was, what's that word? When you make a cultural fox, something, what is it?
Faux pas.
Yeah, faux pas, whatever, cultural faux pas. He felt, oh, I made a mistake, but he wasn't really sure what he did. So then he came back to the temple and he explained to a devotee, he said, oh, Prabhupada bit off a date, and then he gave it to me. And then I bit off it, and I gave it back to him, and Prabhupada, and he said, I think I committed some cultural mistake, but I'm not exactly sure what it is. And then the devotee explained, oh, Prabhupada was giving you this special, benediction. He's a spiritual master, so he's giving you prasadam. And the disciple doesn't give it back, So he understood. Mukunda Goswami also said that in the early days when they would share a shower together, means because Prabhupada was living there and had a bunch of young men there. So they'd be waiting in line to go to the shower. And he said that one time Prabhupada was waiting in line to use the shower. And then Mukunda Goswami, he cut in front of Prabhupada. And he said, oh, Swamiji, I'll just be 1 minute. No problem. And he went and cut in front of Prabhupada. One last thing is in Los Angeles, two of my brahmachari friends, they stayed in the temple, LA temple. And they were, getting ready to to make it to Mangalarti in the morning, and they're about to take a shower. And they saw this Indian devotee in his gumsha, with his Brahmin thread and teeth, neck beads, and he was about to get into the shower. And they told him, Hey Prabhu, that's all right. We'll just be real quick. They hopped in the shower. And then this devotee just said, okay, whatever, hopped in the shower. So then they made it to Mangalarti, and then they were there, and they look over and they see this devotee, and he's holding a danda, Like, whoops. There's a sannyasi, jumped up that one. So, anyways. Okay, so yeah, thank you all very much. Very happy to be here in this holy place in Las Vegas. Of course, this temple isn't in Las Vegas, but it's a spiritual oasis in the desert. But yeah, very happy to be here, and hope I could visit again. And yeah, if anybody wants to discuss with me anything after this, I'm available for that. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Krishna.
Jai.